Hello, Dawn of Faith viewers. Welcome to our today's episode. Today we are going to talk about the God who seeks after us. And our study today is based in the book of Exodus. The chapter is 20 and the verse is from verse 1 to verse 3. And before we look into it, I want us to pray. Dear Jesus, we want to look at this particular passage. We ask of you that may you tabernacle with us. May you rest within us, and oh Lord, may you transform us to the image that is appealing to you. Be with us throughout this study. We just want to pray and believe. Amen. Now, if we look at Exodus chapter 20 verse 1, it starts by saying, "And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage." Now, if we look at this particular passage, I want us to think critically. Have you ever imagined why God did not decide to give the Decalogue to the children of Israel from the time they came out of Egypt? Have you ever imagined why he didn't give Moses his 10 commandments when he met with him at the burning bush? Why did he wait this long? If we look at the from verse 20, chapter 20, if we look at the preceding chapters, one thing we realize that God had done so many things for Israelites. Number one, he had taken them out of Egypt. He had fought for them the battle with Pharaoh. He had plagued the Egyptian before even giving them the commandments. God, even before these, he had fought Amalekites on their behalf. He gave them manna. He protected them by a pillar of fire and a cloud. He gave them water. He turned bitter water into sweet water at Marah. He did all these miracles before Exodus 20. Have you ever wondered why God did not just give them the 10 commandments before he showed all these great works to them? Have you ever imagined like that? Now, if we look at this from Exodus 20, the preceding chapters, the first thing is the Israelites had no knowledge of God. And so, they didn't know what was the difference between this God of their forefathers and the God of the Egyptians. So God had to prove to them why he was worthy to be worshipped. And so in verse 2, he reminds them and tells them, "I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt." Now what he was telling them was, you've seen me, I've fought your battles. I've given you food, I've given you water. I've taken you out from slavery, and now you are free and not bondmen. And so he was trying to tell them that clearly I've demonstrated that I am all you need, that I am all sufficient. And so if we look at verse 3, he's telling them, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." Now he's telling them, I have demonstrated that I am sufficient enough, that clearly you can depend on me and I can supply you all your wants. And so, but the virtue that I am sufficient, I am all you need. And so, you do not need to have any other gods. Because if you have any other gods, what is it that they can give that they cannot give? And so, because I have given you food, I have given you water, I have fought battles before even giving you the 10 commandments. And so, friends, what I'm trying to tell you today is that God does not command you to worship him without having evidenced himself in your life, without having showed to you that why he is worthy to be worshipped than any other deities. And so God revealed to the Israelites his goodness, his mercy, even before telling them what he needs them to do. And so if we look at these particular verses, what God was trying to communicate is that obedience is as a result of his providence and mercies that he has done to us. We do not obey God because he commands us to. We obey God because of what he has done to us. And seeing that he has protected us, he has given us good life, and seeing that he has given us all that we wanted, he has provided for us. He has done all these things. And so when he tells you that if you love me, keep my commandment, like clearly you've seen I am all sufficient. I am all you need. Now, since I have done these things to you, then all I need is you obey my commands. So the obedience to God's command is as a result of his inner workings in our hearts, his providence in our lives. And so, like I told you when we began this episode, that I need you to think. If you look at the miracles that God performed before the 10 Commandments and the miracles that God performed after the 10 Commandments, they are all the same miracle. Like for instance, he gave them water from a rock. Previously, he had given them water. He even turned bitter water to sweet water. Before the 10 Commandments, he gave them manna and quail. After the 10 Commandments, he still continued to give them manna and quail. Before the 10 Commandments, he had parted the Red Sea and allowed them to pass through the Red Sea. After the 10 Commandments, he parted the River Jordan and allowed them to cross the River Jordan. And so it's the same miracle that he had done before the 10 Commandments and after the 10 Commandments. But the only difference is this other miracle that he did to them, he was testing their faith. For instance, in River Jordan, he not part it just as the way he did with the Red Sea. He instructed Joshua to inform the priest to step in the water. And so it required a step of faith for him to open River Jordan. And he wasn't giving them things that he had not done before. But if your memory serves you right, you realize that the children of Israelites were complaining every time. They were complaining every time. Oh God, give us food. And before the 10 Commandments, he had already given them. He had already demonstrated that he can give them food. And even when they were complaining to Moses to give them water. I mean, these are the same people that God had turned bitter water into sweet water without even them having asked him. But still, after having demonstrated all these things to them, and he tested them with the same miracles, they still complained and they still continued rebelling. And so, friends, God has been faithful in your life. There were times when you were an alcoholic, but still God was preserving your life. There was a time when you cheated in exams, but you still managed to pass. And so there was a time when you didn't have money, but somehow at some point you were given money, you were given food in some form or the other. There were times when God was faithful to you, even when your actions were not right. For instance, when you were cheating in exams, you were expected to be caught, but you weren't caught. But that doesn't mean that God excused that sin. He didn't punish you instantly. He still gave you food. He still gave you sunshine. He didn't reduce his providence to you. And so, God has been faithful to us, even if in ourselves not been faithful to him. But now, since that we've known him, we've had a relationship with him, and we've seen what God has done to our life. He's now commanding me. He's now commanding you to obey him. And if you look at this particular the 10 Commandments, 10 Commandments, the word for do not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. It's a Hebrew word that is called law. Law in Hebrew can mean thou do not, or it can also mean a promise. So what God was telling them in the 10 Commandments was, I am the Lord that has taken you out of Egypt. And because I have done this to you, I want to promise you that I am still able to change you to a level that you'll not be able to kill. I'm also still able to change you to a level that you'll be able to obey my Sabbaths. I will also make sure that you will not have any other gods. The only thing you need to have is, if you look at how he was demonstrating this, is to have faith in him. Have faith that he is leading us in the right path. And so, friends, may we trust in God. And as we have looked at the children of Israelites, we've seen God leading them, and he has demanded trust in the sense that he had evidenced himself in their lives. And so, come to God today. He is always seeking after you. May you come to him with a contrite heart and may you allow him to change you. And just as he has demonstrated himself in your life by giving you good health, by giving you all other these material benefits, he needs you to trust him again. May God trust in him, and may we see you in the next episode.